Then came Space Oddity. Ken Pitt had slowly been putting together a film about David, which included, amongst other things, the song Love You Till Tuesday.
What is possibly not known generally is that Space Oddity was specially written for that film. And it was while the film was being made that we realized that the camera crew and the various people in the studio were whistling it. And I thought David and I looked at each other and rubbed our hands and thought, hit maybe? And that's how it started.
In fact, it started with this homemade demo.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control 9 to Major Tom. 8. 7. 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3. 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
Blast off! First of all, I thought I would try to interest various independent record producers with this song, Space Oddity, and so I had the demo that David had made in this room, I think. And the old story, we were turned down constantly. You would never believe the number of people who turned down Space Oddity. However, there was one company who did show a little bit of interest, and that was Mercury in Chicago, an American company.
Mercury would provide the money, but who would produce the record? Tony Visconti certainly didn't seem a likely choice.
I hated the song. Being used to David's more acoustical style, what I realize now is that David was never really faithful to any one style. But having just met him, and well, knowing him for about a year and a half, the songs he seemed to bring to me were the folk rock kind of songs. And he definitely went through his Simon and Garfunkel phase, as a lot of people went through in those days. And out of the blue, he wrote the Space Oddity. And I didn't like it for several reasons. I thought Space Oddity was too derivative of a lot of other songs that were out recently. I mean, to me it sounded like a combination of I Am a Walrus and Strawberry Fields Forever as sung by Simon and Garfunkel. I mean, that was my honest opinion. And then the title was a bit too close for comfort to Space Odyssey. The film was out. I said, this can't be the David Bowie I know, because he was such a purist up till that moment, you know, and this was such a blatant commercial effort. But what I didn't realize in those days, being a bit of an idealist myself, is that everybody has to make money. And that's what David was really after at that moment in time, and he just had to come up with a hit single because his funds were running very low.
Eventually it was decided Gus Dudgeon, Bowie's one-time engineer, would produce. And to make it an even more unique occasion, a keyboard player called Rick Wakeman was called upon to make one of his first major contributions.
I'd done a few sessions for Tony Visconti for Straubs. That was before I joined them, and for one or two other people in a band called Junior's Eyes. And Gus didn't know anybody who played Mellotron because there weren't really many Mellotron players about. And he spoke to Tony Visconti, and he said, well, I know this guy who plays at the top-ranked Reading. And Gus stopped laughing. He phoned me up at top-ranked Reading, told me what it was and asked me if I'd like to do it. And I said, oh yeah, love to. Yeah, he said, it's a Trident Studios. I'd never heard of Trident Studios. I thought it was an aircraft or something. And I found it eventually about an hour late. And I went in there and he said, you're late. And I said, yes, thank you. And he said, what are you? I said, I play the Mellotron. He said, all right, down you go. And I listened through to it once while they were all playing. When I didn't know you were meant to play along at the time. I think Gus was a little bit annoyed. I'm not really sure. That he then he said, let's play it again and perhaps you can play along this time. I said, all right. So I played it. And then we did it once for a take. She kept it, and I just said, "Is that what you wanted?" And he said, "Yeah, yes, that's what I wanted." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much," and went home.
Although Rick Wakeman makes the whole thing sound so matter-of-fact now, it was a major event in his professional life. For Tony Visconti, who had stood aside to allow someone else to produce the record, the same description applied.
Because of the character of the record, you know, it doesn't have that commercial hit pop sound to it. I think all the disc jockeys, all the producers just stayed away from it initially because it was too much of a record. I think someone who worked in my office described it perfectly. He said, "That's not a record, that's an event," and which is a good way of describing that recording.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. Commencing countdown, engines on. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear.
Space Oddity took 2 or 3 months to really make any impact. It reached its peak at number 5 in late 1969. Rick Wakeman was as concerned as if it had been his own record.
When the record came out in July, I was still working at the Reading Top Road, and I took the record down for the DJ down at Ranks to play. I was all chuffed, so I'm on this, you know. I was really proud of that record, dead proud of it, and he put it on, he listened to it, he said, no, he says, no, a dog's chance, really, no, dogs. And I quite respected this DJ's sort of opinion. I was really brought down. Then it suddenly caught on. I think it was Dave Simons that suddenly started playing it on the radio. And it sort of picked up from there, and it suddenly was a monster. Oh, I was chuffed to boots. There's a couple of records. There's that one, and then Cat Stevens' Morning Has Broken one, which I feel really part of. And
Enthusiasm of Rick Wakeman for Space Oddity. There's no doubt that Bowie was enthusiastic too, for a little while anyway. But what should have been an opportunity to really make a mark was frittered away. Bowie's discipline waned. He was shooting off in all directions again, miming, meditating, making music, trying not to miss a moment.
All this wild, hectic experience was squeezed into only 2 or 3 years. 71 is when I got down to seriously writing and trying to not diversify too much. I mean, I was just diversifying all over the place. I would try and get involved in anything that I felt was a useful tool for an artistic medium, from writing songs to putting on arts lab shows and street theatre, and I was trying to be a one-man revolution.